You know something? I'd rather face Nitschke and Butkus at the same time than stand up here and have to talk in the past tense about Coach Shula. When he came to us, we were the bottom of the league. He came into the meeting room and started talking in a language we barely could understand. We were the worst team in the league. Four years later, we were the best team in history. I don't have to tell you the mathematics. Anyone in this audience, and probably most of you, had some kind of personal experience or exchange with Coach Shula over the years. He was a force to be reckoned with. When I first met him, I didn't like him. He didn't like me. The only reason we hit it off is he couldn't trade me and get enough to make it worthwhile. Reality, folks, is reality. But then, as time went on, some of those sayings that he put up on the wall, some of those little cartoons that he put, some of those little clips that he would say at practice, his intensity, his drive, his demand started to pay off. And I thought, maybe he isn't full of crap. Maybe he really knows what he's talking about, but I still, another Ohio farm boy from the background, I couldn't swallow the whole thing at once. I still just, I don't know, it just didn't seem like all those things you could live that and be that. But there he was. And we went through it. We started to win. And as we won, we started to believe more and more, at least I did, and I think I speak on behalf of most of the fellas in the audience that played for him. His intensity was so great that it radiated upon you. And I started to believe maybe 70% of what he's saying is true. And in a 4-year journey, we went from the worst to the best. Not just the best ever. It was one step above. It's hard to fathom, it's hard to realize that he had envisioned that. He had that pictured in his mind. When we set out upon that season of 72, he kept reminding us of how it had ended the year before. He drew on that, fed on that, concentrated on that, and made us better players each and every week. His mission was to get the best out of us each week. He never said anything about a perfect season before it started. He said we would attack every game with the intensity that we would attack the Super Bowl, and we did. And it paid off. We got to the end, and we won the big one. We were at top of the mark. But the beat goes on. We came back the next year, started to win again. The team in 73 gave every appearance of being stronger than the team in 72. The pressure was unbearable. And in the second game, the test came. We went out to Oakland and played the Raiders in Oakland. We got there the day before the game and went into practice in the Oakland Stadium. Our locker room was under repair, so we had to use their locker room. They were gracious and allowed that. I went in and sat down at a locker for a fellow named Art Toms, who I'd played with at Syracuse for 4 years, defensive tackle. And I'm sitting at his locker, getting ready to go out on Saturday and practice the day before the game. And I looked down, and there under his shoes was the defensive game plan for the Oakland Raiders going up against us the next day. Now, where I came from in Ohio is a little different than where Don Shula came from in Ohio. I grew up to my ears or knees in cow shit. And I'm looking at that game plan thinking, I like what I'm seeing here. Because when we zig, they're going to zag, but if we know they're going to zag before we zig, guess what? We got a guy named Greasy that'll figure something out. Wherever they go, we won't. We'll appear to go, but we won't. We'll go somewhere else. So that game plan means everything. Now the intensity, we're still undefeated. We're still going. The intensity's great. The day before the game, I take that report and look at it and think, now, who can I give this? About that time, Monty Clark, our offensive coordinator, walks up, puts his hand on my shoulder and said, "What's that?" I turned around and handed it to him and said, "Monty, I have no idea what that is, and to my knowledge, I never handed it to you. So just go away." He went away. That game was hard fought, went right down to the wire. We lost it 12-7. Our defense did never let them score, but they kicked field goals. When the game was over and I got the bleeding stopped, we had lost our first game in well over a year. I'm in the locker room and Monty Clark walks by and I grabbed Monty and I said, "Monty, what the hell?" I said, "What happened to the report? Why didn't we capitalize on that?" He said, "Coach, when I took it to Coach, he wouldn't touch it, he wouldn't look at it. He said, throw it away. If we can't beat them straight up, then we won't." We didn't, and we didn't. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I come from a farm background in Ohio. Reality is reality. I understand that it makes a little less of me and perhaps even Monty Clark to talk about that, but the fact of the matter is, when people stand up here and talk about what Don Shula was and had the integrity and the grace and the fortitude, the heart, if you will, what we should all be about, all of us, to do what he did in a fair manner to everyone and do it honestly, how do you argue with that? I don't care if another team goes undefeated. I mean, I do, but I don't, because I know they won't have Don Shula's personality in there. That purity that was already spoken about on this stage and goes on will live on through him. Now, if they do it and they adhere to that policy and they follow that morality, God bless them, I'll move over and sit beside them. One time in a heated argument, and I'll close with this because I'm getting too long, I screamed at Don in his office. Well, I raised my voice at him in his office. And I said, "You know, you never let me have the last word. Not once in all the years, 4, 5, 6 years I've been playing for you, not once have I got the last word on it." He said, "Someday when you get the last word, you won't want it." And I thought, what the heck's he talking about? Now I know what he was talking about. I miss him. Thank you.